Good afternoon. Welcome to Spectrum Television News at noon. I am Uyai Imam. Come to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. INEC sets March 11 for commencement of Osun 2026 governorship campaigns. Ex-Minister Diziani appears in London court for £100,000 bribery trial. In other news, Australia Parliament votes on tighter gun controls after Bondi shooting. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We head to the national scene where the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development has dismissed the allegation by the Northern Elders Forum that the federal government is planning to establish a gold refinery in Lagos. The government described the allegation as a deliberate mischief. In a statement by its spokesperson, Professor Abubakar Jika Jidere, the forum accused the government of establishing a gold refinery in Lagos, calling its location a violation of the principle of federal character. Responding to the former's allegation, the Special Assistant to the Minister on Media, Shegun Tomori, said the alleged refinery was solely a private sector initiative without a dime of government in the venture. The statement further argued that the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, never announced or attributed the ownership of the refinery in Lagos to the federal government. Elsewhere, the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction has earmarked 23.56 billion naira in this year's budget to execute various projects and implement different programs. The proposed budget shows that 1.39 million naira will be utilized for personnel cost, 978.3 million naira for overhead cost, while 21.1 million naira is for capital expenditure. The ministry proposed 14 billion for empowerment of youths, medical and surgical outreach for patients, and 1.05 billion naira for training and empowerment of selected youths and women in Kano State to become economically independent and self-reliant. The ministry also stated that it will spend 1.4 billion naira on electric buses as empowerment for selected associations and unions across Kwara State. According to the ministry, 166 million naira is for the supply of essential food items to select vulnerable persons in Lagos, among other projects. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has announced that political campaigns for the upcoming Osun State governorship election will officially begin on March 11, 2026. The Osun INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Mutiu Agboke, made the disclosure during an expanded stakeholders meeting in Oshobo, organized to mark the start of the second phase of the continuous voter registration exercise. He further assured that INEC would provide clear protocols to guide political parties during the campaign period and emphasized the importance of collective responsibility in ensuring credible elections in the state. Reflecting on the first phase of the CVR exercise, he noted that collaboration with stakeholders was key to its success. The resident electoral commissioner said a similar approach will be applied to the second phase to consolidate previous gains. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC will commence the distribution of permanent voters' cards for the 2026 Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections this week, ahead of the February 21 polls. The Commission said the PVC distribution will cover newly registered voters, as well as those who applied for transfer of registration or requested updates to their voter details during the continuous voter registration exercise. The development follows INEC's recent confirmation that 1.6 million registered voters have been cleared to participate in the FCT area council elections. The Commission also disclosed that the backlog of uncollected PVCs from previous registrations would be made available for collection at designated centers during the distribution period. Now to judiciary, former Minister of Petroleum Resources Desiani Alison Madueke has appeared before the Southwark Crown Court in London, United Kingdom, for the preliminary hearing of her trial premised on bribery charges. Alison Madueke, who was in office from 2010 to 2015, was the first woman oil minister in Nigeria and the first female president of the Global Oil Cartel Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. The case was listed on the court's list for Court 8 before Justice Thornton. Alison Madueke was in court for the preliminary hearing ahead of her full trial, scheduled to commence January 26, 2026. She was formally charged in 2023 by the UK's National Crime Agency with offences of accepting bribes between 2011 and 2015. According to the indictment, Alison Madueke benefited from at least £100,000 in cash, chauffeur-driven cars, flights on private jets, and the use of multiple London properties. The charges also detail financial rewards, including furniture, renovation work, and staff for the properties, payments of private school fees, and gifts from top designer shops. In the meantime, the trial of Adeniyi Kayode, the 46-year-old driver involved in the fatal accident that killed Anthony Joshua's personal trainer Lateef Ayodele and Sina Agami, has been adjourned to February 25, 2026. The case, which was initially set for today at the Shagamu Magistrate Court in Ogun State, concerns an accident that occurred on December 29, 2025 along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Kayode faces 4 charges, including dangerous driving, causing death, reckless and negligent driving, driving without due care and attention, and driving without a valid national driver's license. Recall that he was previously granted bail in the sum of 5 million naira with 2 sureties. During the proceedings, the court ordered that the case file be duplicated and forwarded to the Office of the Attorney General for legal advice. In another development, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has issued a travel and safety advisory to prospective corps members of the 2026 Batch A Stream 1, urging them to prioritize their safety while traveling to the orientation camps, which opens on the 21st of January. According to a post on NYSC's X handle, NYSC warned against night travel due to insecurity and road safety risks. According to the advisory, prospective corps members are encouraged to use registered transport companies and approved motor parks to reduce exposure to unsafe travel conditions. The Commission also urged travelers to share their live location with family members or trusted contacts throughout their journey, noting that this could be helpful in the case of emergencies. We move now to Africa, where the Congolese army says it has retaken control of South Kivu city of Uvira after the withdrawal of Rwandan-backed M23 rebels. M23 seized Uvira in early December, but now said it was placing the city under the responsibility of the international community. Reports say pro-Kinshasa Wazalendo forces entered the southern districts of Uvira, followed by Congolese special forces. They announced the city's full recapture yesterday. Recall that the rebels had announced their withdrawal last month, supposedly in response to a U.S. request, but residents said that M23 police and military personnel remained in the strategic city. On the foreign scene, Trump has criticized the UK's decision on Cargo Island, calling the sovereignty transfer a serious mistake. The US president revealed this in a post on his social media handle. Trump said the deal, in which the UK would lease a military base on the territory while handing over sovereignty, is one of the reasons he wants the US to take over Greenland. However, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said the 99-year lease on the UK-US military base after 70 is handed over will cost the UK £101 million a year. Still on the foreign scene, Australia's lower house of parliament has voted in favour of a national gun buyback programme, firearms and hate speech reforms, a month after the deadly shooting at Bondi Beach. Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke said that gunmen would not have legal access to firearms if such legislation was in place prior to the attack. Burke told Parliament that the individuals who killed 15 people on the 14th of December had hate in their hearts and guns in their hands. The gun reform bill, which was passed by the House of Representatives by a vote of 96 to 45, includes stricter firearm import controls and provisions to improve information sharing between intelligence agencies on people trying to obtain gun licenses. Still to come in the news. NFF President Gusau rules out post-AFCON contract extension for Super Eagles coach. Stay tuned for details of this and more after this timeout. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Now to conclude the news on this hour. On that business news, the International Monetary Fund IMF has projected that Nigeria's economy will grow by 4.4% in 2026 from 4.2% in 2025, reflecting the impact of ongoing government reforms and improving macroeconomic conditions. The projection is contained in the IMF's January 2026 World Economic Outlook update, which the fund said would be released alongside a hybrid press conference hosted at the National Bank of Belgium in Brussels. According to the IMF, growth across sub-Saharan Africa is expected to strengthen, rising from 4.4% in 2025 to 4.6% in both 2026 and 2027. The acceleration is attributed to macroeconomic stabilization efforts and structural reforms in several key economies across the region. Still in business, Nigeria's non-oil exports have climbed to a historic high of $6.1 billion in 2025, representing an 11.5% increase from the $5.4 billion recorded in 2024. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council (NEPC) Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer Nonye Ayeni disclosed this in Abuja during her annual progress report and 2026 non-oil export outlook briefing. Ayeni said data obtained from pre-shipment inspection agencies showed that Nigeria had surpassed its previous best performance, describing the 2025 outcome as a historic milestone for formal documented trade. She described the 2025 performance as a historic milestone for the sector, noting that it represents the highest value of formally documented non-oil exports recorded since the establishment of the council in nearly 5 decades, surpassing all previous records and underscoring Nigeria's growing momentum in expanding its non-oil export base. On our health news, child health experts have warned that untreated peptic ulcer disease in children could lead to anemia, shock, and bleeding, stressing the need for early diagnosis and appropriate treatment. They noted that although ulcers are less common in children than adults, they do occur, particularly among school-aged children and adolescents, and are often overlooked until complications arise. In interviews with newsmen, the pediatricians explained that peptic ulcer disease in children is commonly caused by infection with the bacterium Helicobacter pylori, as well as the indiscriminate use of pain-relieving drugs such as ibuprofen, aspirin, and diclofenac. Other risk factors, they said, include poor hand hygiene, malnutrition, severe infections, burns, and chronic illnesses that weaken immunity. They added that prolonged or untreated ulcers could result in blood loss through vomiting or passage of dark stools, leading to iron deficiency, anemia, which may rapidly make affected children pale and weak and require urgent medical attention or blood transfusion. Now to the world of sports. President of the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, Ibrahim Gusau, has revealed that there are no plans currently on ground to offer Super Eagles coach Eric Shiel a new contract extension after the AFCON tournament in Morocco. Shiel was appointed coach of the Super Eagles in January 2025. The Malian led the three-time African champions to win bronze after beating Egypt. Speaking with sports journalist Gosal explained that discussions regarding a contract extension for Shiel are premature as the coach is only halfway through his current 2-year deal. Still in sport, Amaju Pinnick has said he has no ambition to return as the president of the Nigeria Football Federation. There have been rumors circulating that Pinnick is eyeing a third term, but the 55-year-old has now told newsmen that he does not plan to run again. Pinnick previously held 2 full terms as NFF president from 2014 to 2022. He also served as the first vice president of the Confederation of African Football (CAF) and was part of FIFA's committee for organizing competitions. On entertainment news, actor and filmmaker Kunle Afolayan has released the trailer of his highly anticipated series Anikulapo. The Goal Awakens, teasing a gripping narrative of power, love, and survival. The sequel to the award-winning film Anikulapo, the 6-part series, will premiere January 30. Anikulapo, The Goal Awakens, explores themes of power, loyalty, and survival, set against the rich cultural backdrop of the Oyo Empire and beyond. And that's all we have for this news bulletin. Do what follows on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum Television News at 12. We are MM. Good afternoon.